Annie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so stoked to be here.
So,
Now
you know,
that sounds formal already.
it's oh no, it's good. It's good. Like we were just mentioning kind of before the podcast started, is I was just looking up your work and I was so impressed by just like the creativity and the playfulness, yet also like kind of the deep mystical aspect of your work. And for people who aren't really familiar with you, could you just describe like what it is that you do and also how you do it? Because I'm very interested.
Absolutely. When people ask me what I do for a living, I can't really explain because I feel like I do so many different things and there's no like one word that like sums up everything that I do, but I guess an artist would be the best way to describe my work. I basically just create whatever I feel like I want to create, and people end up loving it, which is like so perfect because that's just the ideal situation. I feel like I love just expressing myself through art. Just what inspires me is just the mystery of the human mind and the universe, and I like to interpret it into art and make my books and card decks surrounding the topics that interest me, like the moon and astrology and spirituality. How I do it, I don't even know. I feel like inspiration just comes to me and then I just have to make it happen as soon as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and it's called Dreamy Moon, right? Or Dreamy Moons?
Mm-hmm.
Is it plural? I
Mm-hmm.
forget.
Remembering. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so how did you come up with the name and the concept there?
Yeah. So actually when I first started like as an Etsy shop, and then I made my own proper website. So when I first started, I only painted watercolor moons. And I thought that would just be the name. They are dreamy and they're moons. So I'm just going to name it Dreamy Moons.
It's super easy.
Yeah.
It's barely an
Yeah.
inconvenience.
Literally. Yeah. Not much thought went into it at all.
I mean, but it fits so elegantly too at the same time.
Mm,
Like it's such a
yeah.
quaint, like unique, special little brand. It's so cool. And I
Thank
feel
you.
like I feel also it's just like your work is a testament to just like the entrepreneurial spirit of like that
Mm,
whole, it's like there's a lot of that talk of like do what you love what you do. It's not hard to start up a thing and live your passions, but a lot of people, they get stuck along the way feeling like they have to fit or conform into certain bubbles or
yeah.
ways of thinking or
Yeah.
ways of marketing or whatever, right? And it seems as
Yeah.
though you're just like you grew up doing this stuff and then you just kept doing it into
Mhm.
adulthood, and
Mm.
you nailed it on the business side, as well as like not sacrificing your creative spark.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like it was easy for me because I never actually meant to start a business. There was zero resistance because I first started my Etsy shop, making art as a hobby. Because after high school, I went to study natural health science, and then I felt like I was losing touch with my creative side. And I was like, I just want to do something that will inspire me to paint more. So I thought, okay, maybe if other people like what I do and start supporting my art, that will just give me more inspiration to create more. Yeah. So then I opened my Etsy shop and it took off. And there was zero resistance because I had no idea what I was doing. I knew nothing about business. I was just like, it's just going to be something small on the side. And then it took off, and I had to quit natural health science and pursue my true passion, which was art. Yeah, for me, I feel like the key to my success was just zero resistance always, because I wasn't preparing for something. I had no expectations. So it just flowed because I was literally just doing it because I like it. And then it just naturally grew. And then the problem I had with me was not trying to make it grow, but trying to adjust to my own growth. And yeah, I have to work around it, which is like such a silly problem to have because obviously I'm so grateful, but that was obviously tough also.
Yeah. Well, I'm really curious to ask you, because I've been through this on my own journey, but like
Mhm.
how did you deal with, or did it just like, did you find the right person and it was just easy? Like all the business stuff, like do you have like a lawyer, an accountant, and all of that kind of stuff? Like, did that just come
Yeah,
together, or
I,
how, like?
yeah. I had to figure everything out. Like as my business was growing, like I knew no one else in my life like was doing similar things that I was doing. So I was the only one that I knew that started a business and was growing. And I just had to figure everything out step by step. Yeah, I found like an accountant, found a bookkeeper, found like manufacturers, a lot of like I was asking a lot of questions as well. So I knew no one in my real life, but I was asking like online, like doing so much research. Yeah, and that helped a lot. I mean, like internet is such an amazing tool, you know, if you know how to use it, like you can like figure out everything using internet. So I guess I just used it to my advantage.
Yeah, it's like, how did so that's actually really funny when someone asks you like, how did you grow? You're like, I used the internet.
I
Like,
use it.
huh, well, hadn't thought of that. That's really funny.
Yeah.
But like, I guess, you know, at the same time, like, I mean, just, it doesn't have to be so difficult. And I think that's like that's what I really get from you. Because I've been through my old rigmarole, like things were easy and then very hard and then easy again and hard, and different levels of growth and learning how to, because I have employees and everything too. But the like the scale at which you're operating is very doable and manageable for any entrepreneur, anybody who has that creative spark and wants to do something. And you also have demonstrated that the first step is not to go out and build the business and do this and do that. It's like, make the thing that you want to make, you know, and put your focus on that. Because you, when you're just starting out, you don't have to worry about all that stuff. And as that grows, that stuff falls into place kind of effortlessly. Just as you said, zero resistance. That's like that's a catchphrase. I'm gonna start using that just like in my life as a mantra. Just like zero resistance. Just go into it.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot about intention. You know, like a lot of people start businesses with an intention to make money, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like it just happens so naturally, and it's so much easier to grow when your intention is just to make yourself happy. You know, like I just wanted to be more creative. That's it. Like, yeah, I was happy studying health science, even though something was missing, which was creativity. And I was trying to like feel that part of myself through my Etsy shop. So the intention wasn't money, it was just like creativity, and then everything else came from that. Yeah.
And well, and you're also demonstrating, there's a lesson that we included in the Spirit Science Money movie, because that was a big part of our growth and my growth. I was like, I want to make a Spirit Science about money, because it seems like they are so much more going hand in hand than generally, especially in spiritual communities, than like people generally think. And the thing that you're demonstrating is that wealth is a byproduct of value creation. And if you make things of value that other people enjoy or can find useful or want to spend their money on, especially if they like you, right? Because you are also, you have your brand and you also have your personal brand, so people can connect with you and they're like, wow, Annie's amazing. Yeah, of course I want to support her. And it just becomes this like wonderful exchange of energy between you and them.
Yeah, it's incredible how everything just aligns. Like it's so hard for me to explain how it all happened, because I don't know myself. People just somehow found me, and I just don't know. Power of social media, Harry.
Seriously. Yeah, seriously. I mean, how did you find out about this podcast?
So I found out about spirit science 6 or 7 years ago when I was first getting into spirituality. You taught me so much about chakras and energy and psychedelics and everything. Like, oh, so fascinating. Oh, I'm like especially obsessed with Atlantis. But I found out about the podcast is because your employer, Selena, contacted me. That's how. I actually had no idea you were doing a podcast before that, which is, yeah, I'm stoked that you are.
That's cool. Are you friends with Selena?
No, I'm not friends. So we just,
okay.
She just emailed me. I don't know how she found me.
She's just a fan probably then. That's really cool.
Yeah,
because she's introduced me to a number of really cool people, and sometimes like they just go way back and are friends, and she's just like, you know, connected with all these like just really cool people, and you seem to be one that she is a fan of. So that's great. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
cool.
So, you live in Australia, right?
Hmm.
How
Yeah, I'm currently in Byron Bay. Hmm.
how is the vibe in Australia in like the world right now in terms of like everybody's freaking out, COVID is having more waves. Like I'm in Canada right
Yeah.
now, everything's locking down again. Like what's it like in Australia?
Um, well, we've had two waves so far. I think Melbourne suffered the worst, but I'm in Byron now, which is like a small seaside town, and there's just no cases here. Never has been, and it's just like so quiet, like not like nothing else is going on in the world. So it's
Hmm.
so easy to just like forget about all of that here,
That's what
which
that
like part of me feels guilty. It's like, should I be enjoying myself? But
No, I get it. I
what
get
else
it
can I?
because the media is very like you should be afraid of everything that's going on, even though the death toll this year is not as bad as it was in a previous year when we didn't have COVID. Like it's easy to get swept up in that, but I
Yeah,
think the value of the environment is a really a big factor of
absolutely.
how your health is, right?
Yeah. Have you ever been to Byron Bay? I feel like you would love it.
No,
There's a lot of
no, I've heard a lot of
spiritual.
good, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of crystals underground. I think it's obsidian crystals underground. And I feel like that just what attracts lots of people. And like, hundreds of years ago, indigenous people used to come through Byron and females would give birth here. And so it's like has such condensed powerful energy. There's so many creative people here, so many people who like have their own businesses. Like for a town this small, we've got like, I don't know, 5 yoga studios, which is like crazy because it's
Whoa.
tiny. Yeah, it's amazing. So many healers, everything. I don't know, it just seems to attract people who are open-minded. Yeah, I
That's
feel like
really
you'd love it
cool.
here.
Yeah, I probably
Mm.
would. I've heard good things. My one of my favorite musicians, Elijah Ray, has like
Mm.
an album called Alive Down Under, which he actually all recorded at Byron Bay. So I have like that connection in my mind of like that's yeah. I have good memories of just like the name Byron Bay because I always think of it when I listen to that music.
Mm. Lovely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's really great. Like you're safe, you're healthy, you're happy, you're thriving while the world is entering into the apocalypse.
Yeah, but I'm praying that it's just, it's something that will turn into something better, hopefully. I don't know, we're going through so many changes, but hopefully, a new beginning will happen. Like, so many people are realizing that, I don't want to talk too much shit about the government and everything, but lots of people are realizing things,
Hmm.
lies and everything. So I feel
Hmm.
like more people are now open and doing their own research, opening their mind instead of just like listening and believing things. They're questioning more things, which always leads to better, better world when people are questioning things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from your vantage point, and where do you see like what do you see happening over these next couple of years, even like after this, after 2020, like even just like from Australia, from your point of view,
Mhm.
where do you see this whole thing going, or what do you see happening as kind of the outcome?
Yeah, well, this could go so many ways. I like to believe that this will just open so many people's minds and also people will be more health conscious. Like, yeah, there's this fear about the virus, but maybe it will turn into something positive about people like listening to their own bodies and eating more healthy and, just leading healthy lifestyles while also opening their minds and questioning shit.
Mm-hmm. Great question, shit. Definitely. I mean, why? Like, I guess we can only stand for that, and that's like it seems to be this message that I keep getting too. Is just like it's not so much about telling other people what to believe or what to do or anything like that, but to hold a space for
Mm-hmm.
the highest possibility for
Mm-hmm.
humanity, for all of us to be able to grow, for those who are resonant to that message.
Yeah, and also just about lockdowns. As frustrating as they are, I feel like a lot of good things can come from lockdowns because when people are bored, that's what inspires them and inspires creative thinking as well. Like a lot of like people I know, like artists that I'm friends with now, and myself as well. When I was in lockdown, before I moved to Byron, I lived in Adelaide. It was lockdown there, I had to quarantine. Yeah, and I just spent that time creating, and it was actually really productive and a really beautiful time because I was bored. I couldn't go outside, so ideas just started coming to me, and I just used that. Instead of getting down, I used that time to inspire myself and actually create. Yeah, so who knows, maybe a lot of new things will come from this.
Yeah. I mean, is that kind of the like how or the result of the of 2020 like for you of like have you seen a noticeable increase in like product output, I guess, if you will?
Yep. Yeah, I definitely have. I've been creating so much, which is amazing. Like I came out with a lot of new products this year. Yeah, just less distractions and more focus, and yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw your 20, I think it was your 2021 like Trent
Yeah, of growth
Trent.
book.
Yeah, that's the one. I was gonna call it Transcendence book, but because I forgot the name.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm still freaking out about the gold, like or like the just like the shiny that you got going on those covers are so pretty.
I love
But
gold.
like that was really cool though. Like that book just has so much. It looks like it's just like a really potent like yeah transformation book for people.
I am all about self-reflection. We all go through self-reflection, yeah. And yeah, every year I release Year of Growth books. This is my third one already, and it's just a diary focused on mindfulness and gratitude and a lot of self-reflection. Yeah, I'm myself very into journaling. Like I've been journaling not every day, but like consistently, every few days, since I was maybe like 14. So I've got like my entire spiritual journey just in my journals, which is like so incredible to look back on and just notice this, like it's like a timeline, you know, and you really notice the events that like led up to certain things, certain events in my life. And then yeah, it's incredible. So I just want other people to have that opportunity to look back on what they've been doing and grow from that. Yeah. And it's just such an amazing time capsule of your year, you know, to have a journal for an entire year. Yeah, doesn't have to be my book, but just any journal. It's like a time capsule for you are in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Journaling is great.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, even recently, I was listening to. It was actually Matthew McConaughey was talking on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was explaining like the exact same thing. And he was saying like, when I journal for him, he's saying this, but he's like he's describing that when he was journaling, he just found that his level of like personal success in life was like he would notice this pattern in his life of things would be better when he was journaling, like taking that time for self-reflection.
Yeah, it's also such a good release, just like such a good way to let go of whatever you're holding on to, you know. And also just I like free journals sometimes. So like when I don't know what to write about, I just write anything that comes into my mind, and I just end up writing some like random stuff that I didn't even know what was in my head, like letting go of things that from my subconscious that I didn't realize were there. So yeah, it's great.
That's really fun. I mean, do you think you could take all of those little random bits and like turn them into like some epic story?
Yeah, that's literally like what I'm working on now. I want to like make a book that's like based on like little my journal entries, but make it like interesting and like cohesive, and maybe like a guided journal as well. Yeah, so many ideas.
That's wild. Yeah, that would be super cool. I would totally read that.
Yeah,
Very
it's like
fascinating.
I wrote down all of my like synchronicities and all the random things that happen in my life. It would be so cool to share that with people.
Almost, it would almost be like a fantastical autobiography.
Yeah. Even though I'm still so young, I feel like I'm too young to write an autobiography. But it will be cool. It can be my first one. I can have several.
Well, I'm told that it's rude to ask, but now I'm really curious. Like, how old are you, if you don't mind me
I'm
asking?
24.
You're
24.
24. That's so impressive. That is so impressive. Like seriously, like even as far as like business and stuff goes. Sorry?
How
Oh,
old are you?
I'm 29 and I'm only now getting my shit
You're
together.
29.
I'm
I thought you
29.
were older than that.
Well, I
Oh,
appreciate
I'm
that, I guess.
impressed.
Well, okay,
No,
but like
not even. You look 29. I mean, but you've done so much with your life that I thought you were older.
I don't know. I mean, that's a mixed bag because for like our story is very similar, I would say, because I started animating cartoons in the side of a flip book when I was in grade 6. So I would have been 12 years old when I first started animating. And then quickly in junior high, age 13, started using it was called Macromedia Flash. Now it's Adobe Animate, but it's like this animation software. And started making computer things, but videos, but it was never a business and it never really made me much in the way of money. Up until about college when I tried my hand at making online video games, which had low to moderate success, I would say. It wasn't like a big money maker, but it brought in a little bit of resources. But like it still wasn't a business. And even then, like I started spirit science after that, after my own little spiritual awakening. And that still blew up. And I had, unlike you, I had resistance. It was not effortless, no resistance going into like the business side of things. I was like, I don't want to start a company. I don't want to do any business stuff. I don't want to take that seriously. So I just focused on making videos and went into debt and then kept making videos and then stayed in debt for a long time. And, and then
You know,
got my, sorry?
sorry, I just like it just came into my mind. Like, I feel like sometimes in the spiritual community, there's this guilt about receiving money.
Yep.
And
Been
I feel
there.
like I had a bit of that as well in the beginning, thinking I don't really deserve it. It's like this is easy for me. I'm just doing it for fun. Like, why are people paying me when there are people doing much harder jobs that are getting paid much less? It's like when you have to realize that you are doing so much good and changing so many people's lives and making them happy. And that is, that's why they want to give that energy in form of money to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, it's true. No, it's so true. And like I had a lot of, it wasn't just shame about receiving money. It was just shame about like, I don't like the whole thing. Like there were people who said, if you make money with spirit science, you're a sellout and you're evil and we hate you. And so I just like rebelled against it. And it led to a lot of struggle. Like I asked basically other people who I thought had my best interest at heart, but they didn't really know my heart the way that I did, to run my company, to run Spirit Science. And I was like, I'll just make videos. You handle the money and the accounting and the legal and the this and the that. And it was a disaster every single time, in varying degree. Like it got better over time, but there were some things that really went south and really made like life was really difficult for a while. And I like the biggest change out of everything that's happened for me happened after like a trip to Rhythmia where I did the ayahuasca plant medicine last summer, so August of 2019. And I had this awakening of realizing that I was keeping myself small by identifying as a guy who makes videos on the internet, and that was my life. And I was like, no, I'm a like change the way that you self-identify. I'm a creator. I'm an entrepreneur. I can be this. I can be that. Like expanding. And suddenly I'm like learning about business, and I've gone from really like struggling in a studio in Winnipeg to now I have like an online team of over 20 people, all working together to make videos, and we have an online school and stuff. But it only happened when I made the decision to actually like invest in my education about business and learn how to do it differently. And so I feel like you have a leg up on me, or like you're at a higher level, because when I was 24, I was floundering in a terrible situation with a partner that was not good for my health or the growth of spirit science. And I just look at your energy and it's just like, it's so clear, it's so pure. You haven't had to go through all that nonsense, and you still got to this like tremendously powerful place. It's fabulous.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, who knows what challenges I'm going to face in the future. I mean, for me, I feel like, okay, what I struggled with financially was also like investing into my own business, because growing up in like a low income family, like in Russia, it was pretty difficult. And like from very young age, I was taught to like save every like penny, every dollar, just like save everything. Like I never felt good about spending money. So even when I had a business, and even though I knew like it's investing, you would get that money back, I had so much resistance towards spending money. Like, yeah, I had no resistance towards like painting and like putting my art up on the internet, but then actually spending money to, like manufacture things or ship things, like it was just such like a weight in my heart having to like let go of that money. But then through practice, I just like learned to not care about how much money I invest into it, because it would always come back. And it's just breaking that cycle was like the biggest win for me in my journey. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, congratulations too for like for making that leap, because that's a point. I mean, that was again my turning point. Is the exact same last year. But I think it's an area that a lot of people are afraid to cross into. Like for me, it was a $2,500 investment into an online course that would teach me how like to really just change my vibration, change my relationship with money. And
Mm-hmm.
it was so I mean, that was a really big leap of faith, because it's like, no, you're supposed to save money, not spend it on other things that aren't gonna, and it was like, no, that was like the single most valuable education that has led to so much growth. So much, like if I didn't do that, we wouldn't be posting 4 spirit science episodes a week, or 4 videos on the spirit science channel. So it was a massive, like, yeah, it was a leap of faith, but it turned out. And I think maybe that's a big lesson, or something that, like, if for anybody listening can take away from this, is like that. I mean, don't be afraid to invest in yourself and then the things that
Yeah,
you want to be really
absolutely.
doing.
You've been doing this for so long. Like, do you feel like it's hard for you to gather inspiration, or is it just like ongoing? Like you always have ideas and the drive to create?
Oh no, the drive and the passion is always there, and it's like the dreams are getting bigger. Hey, look, now you're interviewing
Mm-hmm.
me. No, it's fun.
Yeah.
The
I'm
dreams.
just like, yeah, serious.
It's great. No, so
You're
so the dream.
interesting as a person.
So but yeah,
I
the
know
the
this now.
the dreams are expanding, and my capabilities are expanding too. So when I was 19, 20, like, and I was making spirit science, like those first 12 episodes, and the 12th one was 5 parts, so it was really like 15, 16, 17, maybe 17 episodes or so.
Mhm, mhm,
And all of those were done 1 week after the other for like 4 months. And it was just
mhm.
this never-ending grind of like, I'm like I'm working on the scripts in my spare time, recording them, animating them throughout the week, and then continuing to work on the new scripts, because the moment that I publish that video Monday morning, I'm recording and working on the next video, because I got to get it done for the next week, and it takes a long time to make a full video. And so I had the stamina, I had the passion, I had the energy to bust that out. That was no problem. But today, that passion no longer really exists in the same way. And also, I'm doing so much, and this was, I think, the thing was like, as spirit science grew, my responsibilities grew. Now I'm like, when I first started spirit science, my inbox was empty. After that first
Mhm.
season, I had a never-ending stream of comments and questions and messages and like stuff to do and look over and connect with people, and people wanting to interview, or people wanting to, like, people were inviting me to come and visit. Like, it was crazy. And
Mhm.
so that became a challenge of like, now I'm balancing like making videos and also like kind of running the more social media side of things, right? Like making content for social
Mhm.
networks, Instagram and Facebook, and trying to find people to collaborate with. But where we're at right now is I'm kind of like, I have a writer, actually 2 writers, and I have 4 animators. We just added one today, and then 2 video editors. And
Mm.
it's this wonderful feeling where before that entire team was me working 24/7 to get some content out. And now
Yeah.
it's like the thing can kind of run around me, and I get to engage at every level. I get to be involved with the writing of the script and of course the recording and the animation, and I can provide tweaks and tips, and I can teach animation and support with the art. Although right now some of my artists are better at drawing than I am. And so
Uh,
Patchman, I'm no longer the person to draw Patchman. Like that's the team. They're better at it
yeah.
than me.
Yeah.
And so for me then it's becoming about like, well, what's the next stage? And I really want to make bigger and more epic things. So I'm imagining almost like I want to do like a series for Netflix or a movie that can go into theaters, right? Like really
Yeah.
big scale with like a team of like 100
Yeah.
animators. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of where my dream is expanded, because I could never do that when I was just me. But there's a lot of
Hmm.
stages between where I am now and running a big animation studio and like building an animation studio. So I'm kind of I'm like in the middle of that journey, basically.
Yeah, this is so exciting.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
how, that's one way that things can change. And I don't know if that's necessarily like, how about you? Like, where do you see yourself going like 5, 10
Hmm.
years from where you are now?
Yeah, so my big plans for this year before COVID happened were to run retreats and events. I ran my first retreat in Bali last year, and it was like called a creative flow retreat where I was host and I had like 7 other girls, and we were painting together and meditating and doing yoga, and I was doing like guided visualizations with them. And it was so beautiful, like so incredible, like such amazing energy. And I was like, okay, 2020, I'm gonna run like regular events. And then all of this happened. So hopefully 2021, I'll start doing it. Yeah, my plans are to run events and connect with people face to face because I love it so much, and like do painting sessions together. It's just so beautiful. Yeah, retreats and events are my
That's
next step. Um, mm, yeah, and I just want to continue making books and art, really. Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with where I'm at now. I just want to keep doing it now.
that's amazing.
Just
Yeah.
adding events. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the like, I mean, that really does feel really good, the just like retreats and events, because now you're
Mhm.
taking the thing that you love doing and bringing more people into it
Yes,
to
and
do it
sharing it with
together.
others. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. Like painting brings me so much joy. I just want other people to feel that. And to also, painting is such a great way to release as well, like art therapy. It's an actual thing, colors and everything, it affects your emotional state so much. So yeah, I just want to, yeah, teach
Do you think
others how to do it.
do you think that you'd also like, I mean, facilitate, I guess maybe you just said it too. I was going to ask if you were going to also like just teach painting and art, and like even
Yeah,
offer like online education as well as offline, or
yeah,
just in person?
potentially. Yeah, well, yeah, I would love to do that. I myself have never done any art courses, so I feel like I would want to do like an art course or like something like a teaching course myself before I do that, just so I
Hmm.
know how to present myself
Yeah.
and how to do all of that. But yeah, that would be awesome to have like online art
Yeah.
classes or a course. Yeah.
That could be really cool. It's honestly, I'm having this thought of like, it's too bad that you're self-employed, because I would totally be like, hey, do you want to come and be an animator with Spirit
Oh
Science?
God.
No, I mean, your art is really cool though.
Thank you.
it would be a good fit.
Yeah. When I was little, I actually, yeah, like I made little books and I actually made little animation movies. Like I had this flip phone and it had this feature like where you could like start and pause a video. So I would make so many like paintings or just like drawings on lots of paper, and then I would just like record it, like start and stop the video, just do like a stop motion animation.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah,
That's a good
I was yeah, such a
that's
nerdy thing to do for a 9 or 10-year-old, but yeah, that was my life.
no, that's how it begins. That's literally how it
Yeah,
begins.
literally.
That's how it
Yeah.
started for me. I had a dictionary. I was making stick figures fight each other inside of a
Oh
dictionary.
yeah, like with the pages.
Yeah, and then an alien would come down the top from the spine, and then
Yeah, I used to do like little page flipping things.
yeah, yeah. It's well, and you know
Yeah.
what's interesting. I don't know if you probably won't feel the same way because you make amazing art and it's still. But like when I was a kid, I loved like no, rather I wanted to love art. I did love art and I wanted to be really good at it, but I had like very little motivation to actually sit down with a piece of paper and draw a picture. And I found later that the reason why was because it to me it didn't go anywhere. I was like, okay, I drew this picture. What do I do with it? But the moment that I could take those drawings and turn them into a story through either the flip book or on the computer,
Mhm.
suddenly this was becoming this suddenly you were bringing them to life, and then also
Yeah.
drawing the same thing over and over and over and over was exactly the level of practice that I needed in order to not suck. It was in order to draw things more so like because I didn't have the practice otherwise. I wasn't
Yeah.
dedicated to practicing. And it
Mhm.
was more of like a skill like that I was wanting to hone
Mhm.
rather than just like a stress relief thing. Although if I had done it for that reason, that probably would have been really valuable too.
Mhm.
But I don't know, like
Yeah.
that was my experience. It seems like you overcame that though. Like that was not a problem for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the reason why I loved making books so much when I was little is because I also felt like just a single image doesn't have as much purpose. It needed to be more of a story. Yeah.
Mm.
So I was obsessed with making little books. Like I would just paint and write and like illustrate my own stories, write like little magical stories and like staple the pages together. Like yeah, I wrote about like Atlantis and fairies and like everything, like pretty much doing the same thing now, honestly. Yeah, but it was like more of a purpose thing for me as well. Like it needed to be more meaningful.
Uh-huh. I'm curious,
Yeah, to be important.
have you ever thought about taking like because I assume you still have a lot of those old books, right?
Yes, I do. They're all in Russian though.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I that
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. But I'm wondering, have you ever thought about like taking some of your old books or maybe your favorite one or a couple of your favorite ones and then like
Mm.
redoing them today, almost the same, but also completely new with new awareness and new energy and new stuff? Is that a thing that could
I
happen?
mean, a lot has changed. I was 10 and now I'm
Well,
24. I
that's
don't know
fair.
if I would have the same life philosophy.
That's only 14 years. That's not that bad.
Yeah.
um, the reason I ask is because, and this isn't as much of a gap, but when I
Mhm,
was 19, wait, 20, 19 or 20, probably 20,
mhm,
I
mhm,
I got a blank tarot deck, and I didn't know
mhm.
anything about tarot. And I like just for I don't know what compelled me to buy a blank tarot deck. I really have like I went into a metaphysical store for the
Blank,
first time.
like
It
blank,
was it was
no.
it, yeah, it was just white. Every single card was white, and it was just 78 white cards. But it was a blank tarot deck, because it wasn't like 52. It was like the number in a tarot deck, and
Mm,
so
mm,
I got that, and for some reason I was just like drawn to it, and I felt like they had like 1,000 other tarot decks. I didn't know anything about tarot, and I went with the blank one because then I was like, I'll just make it myself because this is so confusing. I don't know which one to get. This is a mess. So I'll
mhm,
just screw it. I'll just make my own. And I never even end up really finishing it, but I got more than halfway, and it was like this important part of my journey. And then like 8 years later, I made Patch Tarot, which is like these guys, which in
mhm.
some subtle ways did borrow certain aspects of the original drawings, but also completely
Oh,
right. And very
yeah.
specifically, the two of discs is the exact same image between the original
Mhm.
version and the new edition, which I don't have on the wall. But
Yeah.
that was sort of a feeling of like I just maybe pass the idea to you of like you could take this original book if it's about Atlantis or something, and you could do like an
Mhm.
entirely new thing but like inspired by the original, and then like have like one
Yeah.
or two drawings, something that stands out, like more remade more directly, but like
Yeah,
you,
that's
you
not a
know?
bad idea. Yeah, I feel like sometimes your past self has this intuition about what your future self will do, but it's like so subconscious, like you don't think about it in the moment. But
Hmm.
yeah, with like whatever you're doing now, you're kind of preparing for the future without like, it can be something completely random, but it might come up in the future. Yeah, I feel like that's been like happening like throughout my whole life, like doing like little random things. And then I don't know, 5 years later being like, I'm so glad I did that thing because now I can use that knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's amazing. It's kind of like, like when they say that past, present, and future is like all happening at once.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like you
It's
just
like that.
have this knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
like that.
there's there's a couple interesting ideas about that too, because I like I think one is the visual to help people comprehend that, which is
Mhm.
you almost just think of it like a river. It's like
Mm.
the river is flowing here and here and here, but if you're like floating along it, like that doesn't stop the river down here from also existing, even though your mind or your
Mm.
consciousness is over here at the time. And then
Mm.
and then this is also even to take things in a more quantum crazy kind of realm. There's there's a group called quantum gravity research, who are basically studying quantum gravity and trying to like make sense of it and using all the sacred geometry. But their research and experiments are showing that particles seem to move like at a subatomic or a quantum level, can move backwards and forwards in time effortlessly in all directions. Basically, it's like it's not like time, even though we experience it linearly, the fabric of existence does not. So there's this question of like, could you be communicating with yourself from the future, giving yourself information back to the past right now, exactly the way that you described, is like you having these thoughts could be what inspired in the future. It could be what
Yeah,
inspired the
exactly.
past version
Yeah.
of you. Yeah.
Maybe your inspiration, your idea is actually being passed down from your future self. Yeah, I would not be surprised. Yeah.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, nothing really makes sense in this universe, but at the same time, everything makes sense.
It's one of those things where in the no, not the Hermetica, the Kabbalion, one of the principles is about polarity and says that all paradoxes can be reconciled. So even if it's like, either two belief systems today that seem to be opposing each other, or something, yeah, a little bit more cosmic that just like it doesn't make sense. That it's like a cosmic paradox of time travel has always been one of those ones in movies and pop culture and stuff that is always just like, not ever fully resonant or making sense. Like, do you start a new time stream, or are you affecting this timeline, or are there many different timelines? And the answer seems to be yes. And if we could zoom out far enough and see the biggest picture, it would make sense. But because we're
Yeah.
in this like limiting, you know,
Yeah.
the stream of flow through time, we have a difficult time comprehending the
Yeah.
magnitude of the.
Yeah. I definitely believe in that.
So let me ask you, I mean, like with everything that we've talked about and like where you're at in the world and life and everything, like what do you feel is like the most important and critical thing for us to focus on? I mean, not just us in this conversation, like us as a species, for people to be focusing on, you know?
That is such a deep question. Probably, I would say inner stillness. That's something I need to focus on, and that's something I'm working on. As I don't know, I feel like I can be very, in my head, always rushing, running around. So for me, like this year was a lot about stillness. Like even yeah, with lockdowns and everything, that was stillness for me. Yeah, so for me it would be stillness, and for everyone else, focus on your inner stillness.
Hmm. I think it helps quite a bit,
I think,
doesn't it?
yeah,
Ooh,
what would you recommend?
oh man. Well, I can't take. I'm gonna make a rule for myself that I can't say the same thing that you did, uh, but I do think that that's very valuable. I would say cultivating a very like the healthiest and most prosperous environment for you. This past
Mm.
year, I read, it was earlier, it was like, it was actually right after lockdown, like March, probably March, April. I read and listened to the audiobook of The Biology of Belief. And we just posted a spirit
Mm.
science episode about this, but the research really transformed my life and my awareness in such a big way, because it was like your environment shapes your reality in such a, like, because I mean, there's this kind of constant flow between you and your environment, and you receiving from everything around you just as much as you're putting out into the world around you. And if you have a really
Mhm.
healthy environment, then that helps like filter and purify your own personal energy, and makes it
Yeah.
easier and better the quality of material, or of output, whatever it is that you're, right, whether it's like the quality of your conversations, the quality of your attentiveness to others, your ability to listen, your gifts to the world, if you're writing books, making
Yeah.
art, whatever it is that
Mm.
you're creating, gets better when you have a better environment. And so I would
Yeah. Well, it's
say,
like
yeah.
sorry. It's like
No, no, it's
saying
good.
that your inner world. No, it's like saying that your outer world is the reflection of your inner world. You're basically just like swapping it around and saying your inner world is the reflection of your outer world.
Hmm. Well, to go even deeper, even on
Yeah.
that, there's a.
Mhm.
Are you if you probably, if you've seen you said that you've seen a lot of the earlier spirit science episodes.
Mhm.
So the I think it was episode 11 where we talked about like the circle and the square
So,
diagram. Yeah, it was kind of like the Vitru.
geometry.
Yeah, yeah, and like this, the Vitruvian Man, like the Da Vinci's Canon of Man, where it's
Uh-huh.
got the guy with the square around him and the circle around him. So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
the idea of that, the circle represents the infinite aspects of you, the intangible, the spiritual, the incorporeal, right? The yeah, like the non-physical aspects of you. And then the square represents the physical body, and then the physical finite aspects of you. So it's kind of like the crossing over between the infinite and the finite. But
Mhm.
then to go even further, you also have the inside and then the outside of that diagram, right? So like a circle crossing over the corners of the square, and vice versa,
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
at a particular ratio, you actually get the phi ratio. So my like when I was learning about this thing kind of came through me when I was reading about it, that was this idea that said that you are not the internal or the external. Like what people often say, it's like it really is all about just all that's within you, and that's it, 100%. And I think that there's a lot of validity to that, because that's where all your DNA is and everything. But also,
Mhm.
you're on an energetic level, you are expansive, right? Where there's the science is saying that our thoughts and our emotions like extend beyond the body. So I was thinking, well, like what came in during this research period was, what if we are not the internal or the external, but the space between? Like it's kind of
Mhm.
like asking the question, when you're breathing, like you're constantly taking something from outside of you, bringing it in, and then pushing it back
Mhm.
out into the world, right? But the question is like,
Mhm.
where does the breath stop being external to you and start moving in? Is it when it crosses your lips, or when it's absorbed in your lungs? Like where is that crossing
Yeah.
threshold, right? And it's like there's
Yeah.
layers of it, just as you extend outwardly energetically in layers, and also how you affect things physically, even, and
Mhm.
mentally and emotionally, you have sort of an extended field. So if
Mhm.
you can be aware of that crossing point of the external and the internal, and then make both of them good, right? The external is a healthy environment. The internal is still and balanced. Then you have like this profound connection to spirit, and this ability to flow and create in beautiful ways.
Mhm.
And your energy field's not getting muddied up by all of this negativity or low vibrational stuff from a city, or a
Yeah.
toxic positivity, whatever it is, right? It's like it doesn't really affect you as much because you're not as around it. And I feel like that's how, for both of us, I had the same experience with like the pandemic. I was kind of like, I mean, I'm not really in it the same. I'm not really afraid, but I'm not
Mhm.
around 1,000 scared people. you know?
Mhm.
And if I
Yeah.
was, I probably would be a little bit more afraid at the, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so important.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm
That's a
sorry.
really good one.
I took a really long time to answer that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I forgot it was the
You're
answer to the
just like
question.
looking at your watch, like tapping your foot over here.
Come
Like,
on. Get to the point.
I know
No,
it's
that
like,
was
yeah,
so good.
in order to get to the point, I have like 17 concepts to deliver first.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love
So
the way your brain works.
I can't believe an hour's gone by already.
I know. Wow. Yeah, it's 12.
That's
Amazing. 12
remarkable.
p.m. for me.
Also, yeah, that's true. I guess you are a day in the future, aren't you? Because it's like
Mm-hmm,
it's 5 p.m. for me the night before.
mm-hmm,
Hmm.
mm-hmm.
How does the future look from here?
It's all right. It's pretty sunny. Yeah,
Good,
the vibes are great.
good,
Yeah.
good. I'm happy to
Sick.
hear it. So, so for anybody then who's tuning in, like, how would they find you if they wanted to like check out your stuff and go and like get your super spirit book?
Yeah, so my website is www.dreamymoons.com.au and my Instagram is at dreamy_moons, or my personal one is Annie Tarasova. Yeah, so you can find me there.
Awesome. And actually, and this is something I wanted to talk about. We completely forgot, but you also have a YouTube channel.
Yes, I used to be way more active in it about maybe 4 years ago before I started DreamyMoons. Now I feel like all of my energy and focus goes into my art, and I express
Ah,
myself through my books rather than my videos. But yeah, I've made quite a lot of videos on YouTube, like about spirituality, the moon, and astral projection. I talk a lot about my lucid dreams because I have a few. I've been like a lucid dreamer since childhood.
whoa.
Um,
Awesome.
yeah, I love lucid dreaming. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you can find me on YouTube. It's just Annie Tarasova. Yeah,
Perfect. Wow. Well, thank you
yeah.
so very much for joining me on this podcast. This was so
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is great. I'm so glad we were able to chat and make it happen.
absolutely. Do you have any like last any last words? Any like final comments for the audience, anybody listening in?
Stay safe. No.
It's good. It's
Um,
good.
no. Yeah, just thanks for being here with me. Thanks for everyone who's listening who has like opened their heart and mind to my creations. Like I appreciate it so much. Like I wouldn't want to do anything else with my life ever. And I'm so grateful to be on this podcast because it's like, full circle for me. Because I discovered your videos when I was first discovering spirituality.
That's
It
so
was
cool.
incredible.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
her work is, I mean, it's just, I have another camera here, so I'll just look into that and say her work is so cool, and go and check it out. Like, I'm definitely probably going to be ordering one of those, at the very least the Oracle deck, maybe one of the books too, but like it's just
I can
so cool and well put together. It feels like you've attained a level of professionalism and creativity and just
thank you.
packaged it so nicely that it's like, yes, that's a big win. 100%.
Thank you so very much.
Hmm.
We can do a swap if you want.
Ooh, okay. I'm interested. We could talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Oh,
again so very much. And thank you everyone for listening in.